The craziest part is that they said to me 15, 20 years prior, they would have to chop my arm off. So I'd be like this.
Yeah. When I got married, well, that was one of my biggest moments. That was like, okay, lockdown. Now I'm a grown-ass man, gonna have grown-ass responsibilities, and life just came together at that time.
I think everybody at that young age try to find something to work really, really hard at. And even if you don't make it, you're gonna reflect and be like, oh, I gave that one thing my all. I don't care what that one thing was, but that's gonna feel really good. And it's gonna reflect when you now move forward in life and say, I know what it feels like to give one thing my all. Three, two, one. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Johnny Drinks Podcast. I'm your co-host, Johnny, here with my father.
This is John.
Today's episode is going to be all about life and its greatest moments. Now, I'm assuming we're going to have some different life's greatest moments, me being 28, you being 58.
Well,
but
think so, yeah.
Curious if we have any overlapping moments maybe shared together.
I'll guarantee you, I mean, without even knowing what yours are, I was probably either there or sharing, celebrating, with you.
Yeah, I would say, I think
if I wasn't there physically, I obviously emotionally, I would celebrate those moments with you.
Everything I'm thinking about right now that I was going to talk about, you've probably been there.
Yeah, that's what a parent should be, participating in their children and their family. You would hope. Yeah, we would hope. I want to just a little sidebar too. So, how many are we doing?
Just let it rip.
Let's say you got 10.
No.
5?
10's great. That's a lot of moments.
Okay, 5. Let's say you got 5.
Okay.
I'm going to bet, and I really don't know which ones they are, because I wrote mine down last week when we were supposed to do this. I'll bet you there's at least 2 that overlap.
Okay, good bet. One thing I will say about life's greatest moments, and because I did a poll on Instagram, and I'm gonna share some results that I got from people, the community that you guys wrote in. It's funny, somebody just wrote to me and they said, what made, and I'll share it later, this moment so special was it was unexpected. And I think a lot of times you're getting a phone call?
That's my brother. He probably wants to wish me a belated birthday. You want to make a bet?
No. Oh. Save it for later. Uncle Rob. Anyway, what she was saying was that what made it so special was unexpected. I think a lot of times in life, you have like these predetermined expectations for how something is supposed to make you feel. You get really excited about it.
Yep.
And then it happens and you're almost let down. And a lot of times it happens with like kids, right? You get really excited about a vacation, you're planning it, you're imagining it, you have like this crazy imagination of what it's supposed to be like in your head. And then you get there and you're so let down that it's almost upsetting. And I think as you grow up, you learn to appreciate things for what they are and you don't put them on like this crazy pedestal as you once did.
Well, I mean, there's a saying that goes, if you have no expectation, you can't be disappointed.
Yeah, that's why I don't plan anything.
Well, no, you should plan and prepare and look forward to. There's a difference. I think you should have every day something to look forward to, like getting up in the morning. I look forward to that. That's kind of cool. Feet touch the ground. Okay, I'm here again. That's a good first step, right? It's a good first thing to look forward to. You have experiences throughout the course of the day, seeing people that you like, seeing loved ones, seeing people you work with, knowing you're going to go to lunch later that day, knowing you're going to be somewhere after work. I mean, those are all little small moments that you should look forward to having a good time. But what you should probably understand differently is don't have this crazy expectation that it's going to be over the top, right?
Yeah.
A blowout lunch, a blowout cocktail hour. It just kind of, I think, keep it so it doesn't get too high and it doesn't get too low.
Yeah, I remember when I was a senior in high school, I watched Blue Mountain State for the first time, which is a TV show about college and these football players on the team, and they go through like the pinnacle of what you would expect. So they're the stars, they have all these girls and the parties. And I remember I was like, man, this is going to be me. And then I got to college and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is not even, I'm sitting in a dorm, 18 years old, I have nothing to do on a Friday night.
Right.
So it's a lot of smacking you in the face. But yeah, you just realize you learn to appreciate things just because you have them in your life. And maybe sometimes you need them to be taken away, which kind of leads me into my first life's greatest moment. And I don't mean to get, I don't need a pity party or bring out the world's smallest violin here, but the first time that my health was semi at risk transitioned into becoming one of my life's greatest moments. So when I was a senior in high school, I was diagnosed with osteomyelitis. So my bone, essentially what was happening, I don't know much about it. There was a bacteria in my body. They don't know how it got there. It was attacking my...
Yes.
Let's see if we can rip this bad boy out.
Here.
So it was attacking my bone, my humerus. And so they had to scoop this humerus bone out, all the bone marrow in there, and they did a bone marrow transplant for my hip. It's my bone. They took a cadaver shin bone, covered it, and it fused into my bone as what it is today. The craziest part is that they said to me 15, 20 years prior, they would have to chop my arm off. They didn't have like the technology. So I'd be like this.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty crazy. And I remember the doctor, you know, they thought it was a lot of different things that could have been way worse than what it was. But I remember the doctor said, you know, hey, it's great that it wasn't this thing, but you'll probably never lift weights ever again. And you're sitting there and you hear all these stories about other people that go through this sort of stuff. And you're like, yeah, okay. And I guess getting back into shape was my life's greatest moment. Because there was a time that, I mean, I can paint the picture. I was slinged up here. I couldn't walk from this, so I had to limp here. I couldn't wipe my own ass because I'm lefty. Yeah. I had to like shave or something. And I remember like just sitting in my bathroom like, this is what I have to deal with right now at 18, 19 years old. So that sucked. But then getting back to just being able to literally like move my body as I wanted to was a really pure moment for me.
Yeah, that was, I wouldn't say it was one of the greatest moments for me, knowing how you recovered. Obviously that's spectacular and that's impressive and a credit to your, you know, your resiliency and your willingness to improve yourself. So that's fantastic. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's like sometimes life's greatest moments are like, even if it's self-induced, suffering is the wrong word, but just like that helps you appreciate things that normally would not be that big of a deal. So that'd be my first life's greatest moment.
It was a humbling time for all of us, you know, to think that you were, prior to that, a 18-year-old young, healthy man getting ready to graduate high school, and then all of a sudden, you know, this is what happens. Life hits you in the mouth, and unexpectedly, things don't go the way you plan. You know, we plan, God laughs. Okay, you deal with whatever is really in store for you, and how you deal with it has a lot to do with the character, your faith, your beliefs, your tenacity, and truly the resiliency that you end up having as a person that I think everyone has inside. They just don't know how to harness it and truly dive into that other place that they know they need to go to, or they should be at, versus sitting idle and playing that, like you said, that small violin and having a pity party.
Yeah, but it's I guess that's the problem. It's hard sometimes to get yourself out of that.
It's very hard. Yeah. No, and sometimes it takes community, family, friends, right? It takes other people to let you understand that you're not alone, or someone else has been through what you're going through. And so there's always hope. There's always an opportunity. There's an option. And you just have to be open and see the forest through the trees, so that you go after what it is you are really looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of these on my list are like one day, like this was the moment, but then that was just like an accumulation of, you know, a lot of bad turning into good. So that was my first life's greatest moment. Dad, what is your first?
Oh,
no order though. It doesn't have to be like the biggest, because we don't want to stack rank things.
Well, for me, you know, listen, I have personal ones, I have professional ones. I would say just staying kind of, this is the first thing that I wrote down when I was thinking about what we were going to be talking about. You know, when I got married, well, that was one of my biggest moments. Up to that point, there were other things that I thought were cool, like going away to college was a big thing for me. Going away to college and then playing baseball was a bigger thing. And then being able to really excel and not only be on a team, but be, you know, relevant in a college atmosphere, that was huge personally. But none of that truly was as gratifying as when we got married. So in 1990, when I got married, that was like, okay, lockdown. Now I'm a grown-ass man, going to have grown-ass responsibilities, and life just came together at that time. And it's, again, so that was one of my greatest moments, because that springboarded me to all the other phenomenal things that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to touch on, that I wouldn't have had I not, right, put the stake in the ground and said, as a young person, okay, I'm doing this. I'm getting married. I'm making this commitment, this direction, the things that I would like to have. So that was the first one.
I would hope that would be your first one. Did that day match the expectation of what you thought it was gonna?
No, that day was so. Again, you visualize all these things that are going to happen before they happen. Oh, getting married is going to be the weather's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be just ideal, and everyone's going to have a great time. And there's going to be fireworks. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. And when you get to it, it's all of a sudden it's real. And you're nervous, and you're like, well, wait a second, what am I doing? Like all these things go through your head, right? As a young person, especially, like, now it's here. So nerves come into play, and the feedback and interaction of other people that are part of your wedding party, part of your family, the family that you're going to become part of, what was, again, now my in-laws, all these things start to really amp up. So it was more managing. I would think that day of getting married is like comparing to, the Super Bowl's coming up, right? So Patrick Mahomes and these guys that are getting ready to play this game, they're going to enjoy the game, but do they really enjoy the game, or no? They're just locked in to what they need to do. And it's not a paralleled example, don't get me wrong, but it truly is. I think in the moment, as I reflect on when I got married, it's numbing. It's like, okay, just don't pass out, don't cry, stay on point, do your thing.
Yeah.
And then when you have the win in sight, and the clock's now you go party. Now you go party. Now it's just like, all right, now we have fun.
So when did you when you found the win, like how to pronounce your husband and wife? What did that feel?
That was a huge relief.
Yeah.
Huge relief, because then you just get to walk out, and now you go, okay, now we're going to go party.
Yeah.
Right. But moments leading up to that, from the planning of the event, the rehearsal of the event, the dinner of the rehearsal, the going through at Catholic church, going through with the priest and walking down it was like, wow, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things going on here.
So if you had advice for somebody about to get married to brace themselves for something like this, what would it be?
Understand there's a process, and you have to pace it through, and not every single moment is going to be sunshine and rainbows. It's not going to be the fireworks, because the dirty details of getting to the wedding don't always go off as smooth and seamless as you would think.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two sets of parents, mine and, let's say, and mom's.
Right.
Well, they're grown adults. They have their own ways. They may not agree on things. And so I never expected that. I didn't understand that, but now I understand it. The same thing, potentially happens as you're going to get married, or Victoria got married, depending on how the other side wants to see things occur, dictates on sometimes how it does play itself out.
All right, what's up, everybody? Hope you're enjoying this episode of the Johnny Drinks podcast. Quick reminder, Johnny Drinks crew necks, still on sale, limited inventory, so if you want to grab one, hit that link in the description. But for now, keep enjoying the rest of this episode. Yeah, I think that's, you brought up Patrick Mahomes and playing in the Super Bowl, and a lot of these guys.
Maybe that's not a great example,
but
you know what I mean.
It is because, for a first-timer, you probably aren't living in that moment, but you hear these guys that have been at it, and they've been to 4 or 5, whatever, and that's what they say. They learn to just live in the moment a lot more, because these moments are truly special, and it's almost like, what's the point of doing it? If you're going to get there and put all this time and effort into, and then not live and really appreciate what you worked really hard for. So maybe marriage should be like the same thing. Maybe you should, on that day, kind of give yourself the grace of saying, I did everything I have to do. There's no more preparation I could possibly have right now.
Now just run the place.
Go through it.
Go through your playbook. Yeah. Be where you're supposed to be. Say your vows, what you're supposed to say. Go through and just get it closer to the party.
Yeah. Which sort of semi leads me into my second life's greatest moment. Again, these are not ranked in any order, but we talked about how, when you're younger, you put a lot of expectations and you imagine a lot of things, but you also don't, it's not like the same pressure. So my next one would be playing football, right? So looking back, you look at high school football and you're like, okay, that's a juvenile thing to call one of your life's greatest moments. But at the time, the beauty of that was as a 16, 17-year-old kid, that's all I had to care about. I didn't worry about making money, didn't worry about providing for a family, thankfully, because you guys were a great support system. But playing football and starting for the first time ever was my first moment of working really hard and then achieving what I thought I deserved versus back in the day prior to always working hard and never really making it to where I wanted to. So two things from football would be like my first start as a junior and then beating the team, the rival that we were not supposed to beat. And that moment was like,
those are great.
That
times.
was surreal because again, I didn't put a lot of pressure on it, but looking around and it beat our expectations. I didn't expect it to go that well.
Right.
And then it did, and I can really live in those moments. I look back now, I'm like, I haven't felt that feeling since then. And that's like crazy to say, but it was a feeling that complete bliss. I didn't have to worry about anything else in that moment.
Yeah. And that was a moment. That's not the moment that I wrote down, but those were two moments, defining moments. I felt celebrating with you because especially the junior year thing and the first game you're talking about, what led up to that, what a difference a week makes. So I always refer to this as the critical turning point for you, right? So the week before that game of you starting, the week before you would come to me and said, I don't want to do this anymore. And literally, if it wasn't 7 days, it might have been 10 days. But it was the week before that you said, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to do this? Meaning you wanted to quit football. And I'm like, well, you just came this far. You played since a little kid. You played freshman year high school, sophomore year high school, practice all through the summer. And now the week before the game, you're saying to me, you don't want to do this. So do you remember what was going through your mind?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind?
Well, again, it was leading up to like all this work and I'm still not where I need to be. I wasn't supposed to start and I was over it. I was done. This wasn't meant. And a lot of times, again, when you're younger, you don't think about these things. Like you're not thinking that it's supposed to be hard and trials and tribulations are expected and they're inevitable. You just think like, all right, maybe this isn't for me and I'm going to go find something else to do. And the fear kind of got in. I don't want to embarrass myself anymore by trying this thing that I was not meant for.
And how incredible that because you said that to me and I said, well, you made it this far. You got to stick it out. You got to play this out. You're not walking away now. Yeah. If you don't want to play at the end of this year, then you don't play. But you have to let this thing play out, right? So what happened? So it's a week before first game. You want to pack it in. We have a conversation. What happened?
Guy in front of me gets hurt, so I'm starting, and then I never left.
Go figure. Guy in front of him breaks his hand. He doesn't play at linebacker. You step in. You never came off the field for 2 more years.
Yeah.
All county.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right? Like you were a very solid high school football player, right?
Yeah, if only I was a foot taller.
And geez,
I wouldn't be doing this right now.
Well, geez, if I was 6'4", 280, I'd be.
Yeah,
we'd all be in the NFL.
You never know, because maybe you wouldn't be playing with the same passion. But yeah, it's again, and this relates to everything in life. And I think the beauty of high school sports is, again, it's a time that hopefully you really don't have to worry about too many other things. Like even nowadays, I'm 28, you're older. Something like that were to happen, right? Hypothetically, we won something great or we have that moment for us. We still have life going around, right? So maybe we can live in that for a little bit. And then we say, all right, well, we have to worry about for you, your kids and me, other business and things that are moving on. So we kind of live in those moments a little bit shorter period. Whereas at 16, 17, you could live in that for the week. Like that's all you have to worry about. You're not worried about school at that point. You can kind of mess around in class. That is great. So I think everybody at that young age should try to find something to work really, really hard at. And even if you don't make it, you're going to reflect and be like, oh, I gave that one thing my all. I don't care what that one thing was, but that's going to feel really good. And it's going to reflect when you now move forward in life and say, I know what it feels like to give one thing my all.
And you hung in there. I mean, go figure that, if you just take the journey down the road a little further, if you just go and see what's beyond the curve, be safe about the speed you travel, but just take it around the bend. You don't know. There could be a hill you got to go climb. It could be downhill, but go around the corner and stay the course, because at that next turn could be exactly what you need. And that's just to coast. Yeah. And you get to where you need to be.
That's why surrounding yourself with the right people is so important.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So I have one that I'll share additionally, which is, again, this is a personal one. Life's greatest moments for me, right? So personally, when I had come out of college, I got a great job, great opportunity right away, working for Colgate-Palmolive. I left them after 3 years. I was introduced to the mortgage financing world. And I had always known that I wanted to do something where the compensation was directly related to what I put into it, meaning commission sales. Okay. I was previously Colgate, I was salaried. So that was my salary. Whatever I made, and there was no changing that. So now I flip over to commission sales. And as a commission person, I hit the milestone of the 6-figure income, right? And that's a soundbite even today, 6-figure. Although people throw around 7-figure income today.
Think about it.
Well, people throw around 7-figure income today like it's a huge milestone. I got news for you. 6 figures is still a great milestone. I don't know where anyone who's slaying it, working their butts off, trying to provide for themselves and or their families wouldn't be proud of a 6-figure income. Any income that helps contribute to your family's livelihood, right, you should be proud of. Yeah. But the milestones
that's irrelevant. Exactly. The bar is so irrelevant nowadays, because the fact that if you were happy with your 6-figure milestone income, and then you go online and they're like, well, that's not even a lot. $1 million is a lot. Right. First of all, that's not. And then you're going to go and reach that $1 million milestone, never be happy. So that is the biggest problem nowadays, that you really can't be happy for yourself, because you do. And then you go online, you see somebody doing it 10 times better.
Well, you shouldn't, then don't go online and look. But these are things, again, well, I say it's one of my personal things, because that was a goal. That was a stretch goal. That was something, when I was making $25,000 a year, that's what I was making. To think 100,000, is that possible? Like, that was light years away. Right. And so when I finally did that and I cracked through it, I was like, okay, great. I did it. That was a milestone. Done. So that was one of the moments that I pull from back in 1990, whatever it was, 93, 94.
Was there somebody, or you just in yourself, that told you can keep going? Like, because if you were content at 6 figures, right, 100 grand, you're like, all right, well, now that's all I can do. Did you, what kept you pushing?
I knew what was possible, because I saw others doing it.
Right.
That's it. I mean, so differently today, where you can go and Google search, how much money does a doctor make? How much money does this salesperson? How you could find within reason what that income would generate, what that employment, that job would generate by way of income. We just had the visuals of the guys and girls that did what we were doing, and you knew they did much better, because if I was, whatever kind of car I was driving, they were driving something that was clearly the Mercedes, the big Mercedes.
Right. Well, I guess
you knew they were making a lot more money.
That was my question. Like, how do you balance the satisfaction and contentment of reaching one goal, but not staying there, right, being the big fish, little pond versus, small fish, or big fish, little
That's the constant. Pond. Yeah. Big fish in a little pond,
or a small fish.
Small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the analogy?
Yeah. A big fish in a little pond, or a small fish in a big pond.
I think it's important to be both.
It's okay. It's okay to be, just know what you are. Because if you're a little fish in a big pond, then don't get eaten by a big fish. Keep swimming, keep moving.
Yeah. And I guess it's important to know, like, it's important to know that, because then you won't feel so defeated. Every time you wait, if you were like, again, you were a big fish, small pond making 100 grand compared to the people that weren't. But if you didn't ever acknowledge that and you were a smaller fish in a big pond now, you would feel so defeated. Whereas if you say, okay, look, I know I'm here. I want to be here for a reason.
Right.
I want to learn and grow from these other bigger fish.
I think, again, I feel a little bad for the general population of young people today that are continually looking for that, being this big fish somewhere. Just be whatever you're, go get what you want to get, be who you want to be. Understand that all that narrative and that play, it doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter, right? What matters is you feel good about yourself. You feel good about what you're doing. You're providing. You're able to live a life that you want to live comfortably. And if there's a little tension, it's because you created it.
Yeah.
Right? It's because you want to make more, that you want to do more. Okay, some of that's healthy, and some of it is not healthy, and it could be deconstructive in the sense that you let it pile on top of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I always wonder, because we live in a society that's very warped. Like, you're never really, it's very hard to be happy and content nowadays. And I always wonder, like, if hypothetically I wasn't influenced by anybody else in my life, where would my satisfaction be at what point? Like, what would I have to be making as far as money? What impact would I want to have on however many people? Because sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I'm kind of good. Like, I don't need to keep doing things. But then I'm like, oh, snap out of it, John. You live, and this is what you want to be doing. You're destined to do this and that. And who's telling you that? You know, like, that's, I think, a hard balance, because you don't want to silence that voice, because that voice is powerful. And you do, I think, for me, I would assume, like, life is all about stacking these wins. You want to look back and reflect and say, I was able to do this, as opposed to being, you know, old and wrinkly and saying, well, I didn't do shit with my life. That'd probably be a pretty terrible feeling.
Well, again, these are self-imposed things that people do to themselves, and it's influenced in large part by social media, because everything you're swiping, everything you're looking at suggests that everybody's doing so great. It's not the case.
Well, that's not the case. But I do think it feels, you got to feel it one time. Like, you got to feel what it feels like to put in a lot of work and then win. You know what I mean? Which kind of leads me into one of my life's greatest moments, which was with this whole Johnny Drinks thing. I guess I can combine the two in one, right? Like, the inkling of hope, which was going viral out of nowhere. In me, it wasn't like, it was a crazy dopamine hit from these views and likes and whatever. And it was fun to share because we were with, you know, our family when it happened, out to dinner. It was less about that moment. It was more like, oh, this could be real. Like, as long as we just keep posting videos, boil it down to as simple as it can be, we can make a business and a lifestyle out of this. And that was something that I kind of held strong and tight to myself. And then when it started to happen, leading into another life's greatest moment, was the bourbon sale. The 9-year bourbon sale was in that moment, one of the biggest highs I received from something other than you know.
Yeah, that was cool. And I got to experience that with you, which made it that much more rewarding, satisfying for me as a parent, to think that I was there in it real time and not just hearing about it.
Yeah. Well, right? I think that's the hard, that's a good point too. And I'll get back to that. But that was a moment where, again, I was super apprehensive. I didn't know how it was going to go. It was a lot of money. You know, we had a lot of people that, again, it could have went either way. We could have sold none.
Right.
I remember having this conversation to myself, and it was sort of just, you know, you prep yourself for the worst at times. I remember I was like, all right, well, you know, if we sell 5 to 10 of these bottles tonight, that'll be good. We can just keep grinding, and sooner or later we'll sell them all. And again, I remember how we had a queue of thousands of people
24 hours
to buy this stuff. When expectations exceed what actually, you know, what you thought you were going to happen, that's when things are like, holy shit.
Well, right. So if we had an expectation that we're going to sell it in 24 hours.
And then it did, I'd be like, oh.
That would have set us up for failure. So instead we said, oh, let's just sell, we get away with 5 bottles tonight. That's great. And all of a sudden we got rid of them. And it was pretty easy. 24 hours, less than 20. Well, that was a little over 24 hours, right? By the time it all sold out. We had a pre-sale and then we went live.
We had the queue of like thousands of people in it, and then just due to the software we were using just wasn't catching up.
Right.
But again, like that's the hardest part about living in today's society too, because everybody preaches like the law of attraction, manifestation. You have to speak positively, and it's a hard, like, where are you now a realist versus an optimist? And sometimes one will get you in trouble because if you're super optimistic and you know what's going to happen to you, but you really didn't prep and plan for these sort of things to happen, and just the world didn't align for that. Now you're very disappointed. Whereas if you said to yourself, like we were, hey, look, we prepped for this. We worked really hard. We know what we deserve. But if this happens, then I'm counting that as a win.
Exactly. And this is the bottle, right, that we're talking about for those who can see this, right? This is the 9-year. Yeah. This was right out of the barrel when I tasted it with clear water. Yeah. It was delicious. Yeah. And we knew it was good stuff. And then the packaging and everything we put together was truly a top shelf collaboration.
Yeah. That was the most
very
work
proud
we
of
put
that.
In. Yeah,
it was expensive, $300, but it was a value add from the box, the little ring that's in the pouch. The 9-year aged bourbon, the 2 glasses. I mean, we nailed it.
And just being honest, I mean, that sounds expensive. We didn't make that much money off of it. Like, it was not about, that moment, it was not about the money that we made at all. It was just like, oh my God, we sought out to do something and then we went and did it.
And that's
really cool.
That's exactly right. That was our plan. Let's just get something of quality out there to share with everybody. Yeah. So I'm going to take my own little break here and have my slate because I'm hungry. Okay. Sorry about that. For those of you who, did you hear that? That sounded awesome. Anyway, so let's back up though, because there is one thing that I'm certain we both shared in, that prior to, you want some? Yeah. So prior to the...
Oh, wait. What were you going to say? Because I was going to say something.
I was going to say, when you were in college, the entrepreneur...
Well, that was one of mine.
Oh, that's one of mine. So
well, all right, before we get to there, you brought up a good point about the bourbon launch. You know, instead of hearing about it through or from me, you were there to experience it with me.
Right.
For you, that was a really good feeling, but sometimes that's like every son's goal is to make his dad proud. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard to do that when you're doing it with him.
When are you going to do that, by the way?
Exactly. Very difficult. Not today.
Okay. Maybe the next podcast where we talk.
Probably not.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. But that's like that. That's a hard balance. Like, yeah, we do a lot of stuff together. So I'll probably never get, from a business standpoint. Maybe I will when I move on and do other things. But with the Johnny Drinks thing, I'm never going to be able to come up to you and say, "Hey, Dad, look what I did," because we're doing it together.
Yeah, but yes, understand. But I see that every day. I get the benefit of, you do make me proud. You're incredibly good at what you do. And even though we have times where, Dan and Joe, they bang heads with us and it kind of trickles over to what we do, even though that friction sometimes affects how we flow. Yeah, there's always those moments that we would rather not have, but the majority of the things that end up going in the direction that they should are phenomenal experiences for me.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have to say I don't say it probably often enough, but
you don't need to. It's okay.
I know, but I know you understand that. But you're doing it every day in and day out, week in and week out. So yeah. I'm incredibly proud of that. But
I'm proud of you too.
I want to touch on just one more thing with you, and then I want to talk about my other children, because
who cares?
This shouldn't be all about you, but anyway. So the one thing you said we share, and prior to TikTok, was United, right? So I remember when you were in school and you were going for the entrepreneur. Was it Entrepreneur of the Year? Was it Entrepreneur Club? What was the?
We had our school had like a
business class that was.
They picked one entrepreneur of the school. I don't know. Right. Some sort of business competition.
It was a competition, business competition. And I remember you planning for that, and I went down to watch that, and I was sitting there like other people sitting and watching, and I watched you make your presentation, and then I felt like you nailed it.
You did?
I felt like you nailed it. I felt like you could have did better, because that's just, I know how you prepared, and I know some of the shortcomings of your preparation and what happened that morning, which I kind of...
What?
the computer didn't work. You had a problem with your laptop.
I did?
You went, yeah, yes. You. This may come to those who know John as a shock, but I had said to you, you had your whole thing planned out on your laptop, and I think you had a UBC that you can plug in.
A what?
A UBS? UBS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, UBS. Continue.
You had a zip drive.
Yep, zip drive. There it is.
Sorry.
And a CD.
You had
I had my DVD player.
You had a zip drive.
A USB.
But you had a zip drive that was in the USB,
Sure.
right? Wait, is it a USB or is it a zip drive?
It's a
They're one and the
USB.
same? All right, but what goes into the port?
The USB.
Okay. Something with your connectivity.
Okay.
I said to you, you should get there early and test drive it so you make sure it comes up on
What I
and it
do.
works. And you didn't. You didn't get there early. You got there whenever, and it did not work right before you were trying to make the presentation.
TV.
Yeah,
I
a little
remember
minor
that.
detail. It didn't work. I was like this. I was like, oh my God. So you had a little, I'm sure, panic in that moment right before your presentation, but it ended up going off pretty well. And anyway, it went well. It didn't go exactly to plan. You wound up winning the contest, which was a $10,000 value package. Was it?
4.
No, the check was
Oh,
4.
that was so
The
bullshit.
10,000
Yeah, they
it was a
act
10,000
like it was $10,000.
Okay, well,
It was not.
they said it was a $10,000 package.
whatever.
You got a check for $4,000
Yeah.
towards
Taxed, so it was like
it was but it was okay. But there was educational things behind it. You were in college. It was great. So that was a great moment to be there.
That was
to
really cool.
experience. You go outside. You hold up the big check, and I took a picture, and I still have that picture.
I won a couple of those competitions. Those are fun. Those are like, again, that's something where I look back and I cringe even hearing the word Student United because of how, if I were to do it again, I was young, how juvenile it was, and thinking back and I see kids.
It's a great
that
concept.
pitch to me and I'm like, oh man, that was how I sounded to people. Just not desperation is the wrong word for it, but you're just in a position where you really are begging people to try your product, to like your product, to invest in your product.
Sure.
And it's a shitty feeling.
It's the world with hopeful optimism. That's what you were.
Yeah.
You should do that.
Oh,
You
it
should
sucked.
don't. I'm sorry. You should never be embarrassed of that. You should never feel like that was like a weak. That was a great concept. And you know what? The truth is, if you had more money, if we had, which we didn't, someone else to say, okay, do this first, then that.
But that's the point. That's the point of entrepreneurship. You don't
I
have
know that
anybody
you have to
tell what
figure it out on the fly.
Right.
That's why you should be proud of you. But the truth is, if you had a guide rail in place, a firewall in place, so that you would prevent people from being scammed and taken advantage of with the exchange of the proprietary stuff.
Well, the intrinsics we don't have to get into, but-
but that's all. I'm just saying that was a great. That got you ready, believe it or not, for this.
Yeah, listen, I definitely learned a lot. And I don't think it's that I'm embarrassed. I associate that time in my life as a very,
You're young.
negative. I don't like the fact that all I remember was like because with the down comes an up normally, and there really was no up from there. I learned a lot, yeah, but I would look back and say, I set out to do something.
I'm surprised
and I didn't do it.
you're going to reflect differently as you get older. That was
Probably not.
that was meant to be, that you had that experience.
Oh, I'm not saying it
and
wasn't.
You pulled and grew from that.
I think the biggest thing for me is why I feel so negative towards it is that, and this is advice for everybody that is going to try to do something on their own as an entrepreneur and start something, whether it's, I don't care what it is, technology or a product, you're going to have thousands of people telling you, hey, well, listen, if it doesn't work out, this is a great experience. And that's going to be like the biggest slap in the face you could hear. And I heard that so many times. And as a younger guy, you're super stubborn. And all I wanted to do is prove those people wrong. And I proved them right.
Well, just understand, you're still a younger guy. You're still a younger guy.
Not that young.
You're a better version of what you think you were at 18, but you're still a younger guy.
But I have no concern. I don't have to prove anybody right now.
But
I don't give a shit.
the things you're doing today in 2 years, 5 years, 10 will have perspective. Same way 4 years ago, think about when we started this, what we were doing. You just said it earlier. What are we doing? We're going to figure this out. Not
Different
sure.
feeling. This was not the, it's not the
Because
same feeling.
you were a little older than
No.
when your first round.
No, I think it's, again, that was the biggest thing for me. It was I proved a lot. I wanted to prove these people wrong so badly, and I didn't get the chance to do that.
Okay.
And that's the ego of a younger man speaking. And I think that's why when I think about that, I think back of how I used to be and how I used to act, and there are things that I would have changed. So anyway.
Well, okay.
But yeah, there was a lot of life's greatest. Well, I was going to actually say one of my life's greatest moments was the launch party.
Because I was in that great party, yeah.
Great party.
Awesome.
And again, my expectations for what this was going to be was this crazy, electric journey of success and money and blah, blah, blah. And I guess, again, eventually did not happen. But that day was pinnacle for me. Was definitely a high. Had everybody kind of supporting what I was doing, and that was a good feeling.
Good. Okay. Cool.
So definitely a lot of pluses from that, I would say.
Yep. All right. So continuing on in the spirit of this, milestones, we've touched on and talked about things that you've done, continue to do, that I've shared with real time. And now there's 3 other siblings, right? I have 4 children. So let's take that for a second.
What are the names?
First, my eldest, Victoria.
Right.
You're number 2. So how about that? You're number 2. You'll never be number 1.
I know. I don't want
That's terrible. What a terrible thought that is. Then there's Diana,
right.
And there's Joseph.
How old is Diana?
Diana's 23 and Joseph's 22.
Good.
You want to know their date of birth and social security numbers off the top of my head?
You know Diana's birthday?
You please don't. When you set me up and you ask me questions like this, especially related to the family.
Listen, these are questions where like there's no winning this. You should know your daughter's birthday.
And I do. What?
They're good.
Okay. I'm not even going to tell you.
I believe
I'll
you.
test you. Do you know your siblings' birthdays?
May 29, 2000, yeah.
Okay. What's Joe's?
July 23rd, 2001.
What?
2001.
Okay. Okay. How about Victoria's?
April 12th.
What year?
93. No, 94.
Oh, 94?
She's 29.
And you're 95. Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Good job. Check the box.
Thanks.
So one of the greater moments for me, milestones, was when Victoria got married.
Yes. Okay. That's on my list.
So is it? Oh, I can't read that.
Well, you know what? On my list,
so let's talk about that. Victoria's marriage, the wedding for me was like, wow.
That was honestly, I grouped in the marriage and the proposal. Okay. I think both of those moments for me exceeded expectations. Like the proposal for me was picture perfect. Like walking up to them and planning that whole surprise. So for those that don't know, we did make a video out of it. So if you want to check our TikTok out, actually the sound might have been removed, which is unfortunate.
It's still there.
Anyway, so we had this plan. Victoria's supposed to get proposed to down in Disney. She's one of those Disney adult, freaks. And that's why I do have a soft spot in my heart for people that are Disney freaks, because they're not that weird. Promise you. They're actually very nice people, including Victoria. So they're down there at Magic Kingdom. Where else would you want to get married? Are you?
Music's there.
Okay, well.
This is a great video.
Okay, well, you can watch it later.
You guys got to watch this video.
Okay, put the phone down, please.
Can I just watch it real quick? Look at Diana. Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, we're a little busy here. So anyway, Victoria had this plan of getting proposed to by Jared down in Magic Kingdom. Just her, Jared, and her one other friend were supposed to be there. We surprised her. We had the whole family come down, fly out to Disney down in Florida, and we documented the whole thing. So the video shows us kind of sneaking around Magic Kingdom, and where do we hide? We're hiding behind columns and balloons, and we finally we see them from afar. So if you've never been to Magic Kingdom, it's like the big castle and then the big walkway. So we could see them, but obviously she didn't know we were there, so she wasn't even looking for us. And we're hiding under like a bush. And as we see Jared walking up to get on his knee, we pull out. She's screaming and crying for him, and then she sees us behind him, and she goes crazy. And it was truly like they say at Disney Magic, it was a magical moment that we were there to share. And I was choked up. That was crazy. I could
cry every time I think about it. But
the video's
spot on, authentic. Nothing was scripted, except Jared met us in the bathroom so I could give him the ring. Oh yeah, I carried the ring because he was so nervous. So we met at the bathroom. He knew we were there, and that was it. Other than that, no one else knew. But yeah, you going down Main Street, going around, the statue of Walt Disney, seeing the castle in the distance, and getting there. Perfect timing. It was like, and then no sooner does that get done, it rains. But we were done, and then the skies opened up and it downpoured. Now, had it rained and downpoured 10 minutes earlier, the whole thing's different.
Yeah.
It may not even happen, actually. Or we don't get there. You know what I mean? So that was God helping us out. So
well, God helped us out her wedding day too. The wedding day was perfect. Like it was, the weather was great. There was no problems. Again, you don't know what to expect, but it was truly, and I guess for me, I had no skin in the game, so I didn't have any pressure or nervousness. So I truly got to live in the moment. And maybe that's a good point to bring up about when you're kind of the person in the spotlight, maybe remembering like, hey, this is going to be hard for me, but I know I'm making hundreds of people proud if they get to reflect that was one of their greatest days. Yeah. So I, as the brother, was obviously one of the groomsmen and just enjoyed every moment of that. It was great to see Victoria cry, great to see Jared cry, and
it was great. Beautiful day. It was just, we're very fortunate to have had everything go the way you would want it to go, and actually exceed the expectations, because it was perfect. Everything was just spot on.
It was.
And that's, again, one of the greatest things that I pull from, in addition to, like I said, my other children. So there's a picture that encapsulates the milestones for me, all of you. So the 4 kids, each one of you has a t-shirt on. You have your Stu United t-shirt on. Victoria has her lashes. Diana has her college, Stockton, and Joe has Syracuse.
Yeah.
That picture encapsulates so much that as a parent I'm proud of, but each individual at that time, milestones for each of you. You had Stu United and you just talked about it, but at the time when you're wearing that shirt, it was a very different feeling. Your trajectory was going into a place that this was something you were proud of. So we were proud of it. Victoria's doing her lashes. She had her own business, still has her own business. Very proud of. Diana was going off to college. She was in college. So that was a big, going away to school, and her experience in that for herself was a big milestone. And then Joseph going to Syracuse on a full ride was like, wow, all of these things are in one picture. And, I can break them all down. Like we could talk about, Joe's experience for the better up until the point that, things don't always go as planned. But from a high school kid to being highly recruited to the day he signed the agreement to go to school, it's just, for any parent, whether they're first time going to college, they're getting some sort of education that is financially supported because of academics, or in this case, it's supported because of athletics. Those are huge, huge, incredible milestones that you can't help but just feel like, wow, what a gift.
Well, that's actually, it was on my list too, is Joe's senior, I guess when he won state championship, he won it both years, but as a senior, we were lined up and they would walk onto the bus. Yeah. Like they were like a D1 college team. Yeah. Their high school football team was
stacked,
scary. Like these were big boys. And I look back and my friends like, oh man, I wonder why we weren't good. I'm like, that's a state championship team right there. Look at them versus look at us. So anyway, I remember when he's walking onto the bus and he sees us and, gives me a big old hug and he's like, I'm going to do it today. And I can get chills thinking about that. Just hit that moment sharing with him before he got on the bus. And then one was, it was special, and everybody, it's funny because again, if you look at my stature and look at his stature, very different things. He's about 6'4", at the time, probably 280, just a big boy, and I'm 5'7" on a good day and, 175. So everybody, when I was growing up, when I was a senior in high school, he was about my size already. And, people would always ask you, are you jealous? Do you wish that was you? And there was never really a moment. Like I was just so proud of him doing his thing. That was what he was destined to do at the time, just play football and be really good at it and hopefully love the game. And although it didn't work out for him in the long run and, unfortunate things happen.
You get hurt.
And, it is what it is. And maybe you just find a new passion in life. But at that time, I couldn't have wished for a better better day for
It was
him.
a great experience for all of us. That team, like you said, that was a special group of guys, and the Wayne Hills football team. Out of that team, I think double digits. Like if there's 22 guys that are playing most of the reps, and then there's those who played both ways, like Joe and many others. There was like 4 or 5 D1 scholarships that came off that team. This is a public school.
Public school is crazy.
Public school, right? And plenty of other kids played really, had some great college experiences, Division II and Division III. Yeah. And so it was like double-digit kids off that team that ended up going playing at another level.
Yeah, that was a special. Again, those moments don't come every so often. So the fact that he was able to experience that was cool.
Yeah, and we all, like I said, we were all part of it. Yeah. That was a fantastic time.
So, do you have any more? Because I want to pull up some from the audience.
No, I think that's I can digress. I think
before we get to that, Dan and Joe, Dan and Joe, life's greatest moments. Let me ask you one thing, because if you asked me that question right now and I had no time to think, honestly, my mind would go to beating Hills in football.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I did. I said football.
Yeah, but you didn't talk about the game.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I talked about like that was the moment.
Yeah, but you didn't say Wayne Hills.
Yeah, that was just an electric day for me. So
that was a great time.
I stack rank how I felt, right? What that one thing made me feel like. Yeah, so right now, the importance of a football game in high school is probably not as significant as maybe some other things, like watching my sister get married. But for that moment, that's what made me feel like a 10 out of 10. So immediately if somebody asks me that question, I reflect back to that. So don't even think, what came in, did something pop into your head when I asked you that question?
Honestly, no.
Not one thing.
No.
Okay, no. Dan says no.
Okay. Dan, you think. Joe, you're up.
You're putting them on the spot, these guys.
That's what I want. Grab your mic.
That's all right.
I mean, I'll just give you, you had a second there, I guess, the ability to work with my friend here and give him a job.
Damn, that's a really good fit. So Joe, behind the sound of the podcast, is now, congratulations, new project manager for the John Music Podcast. Came from a very successful podcast. It was now able to employ his friend, and that really is a good feeling. And I'm proud of you for doing that. I'm proud of you for putting trust into him, and I'm sure there's mistakes that are made. You're gonna stick by his side. You guys are gonna grow together, and looking forward to seeing where you guys go. So that's really good.
Good stuff.
Dan, you better think of something. No, I'm playing. No need for the pressure, but hopefully now you can kind of reflect.
I honestly don't have anything.
That's fine. It's all good.
Looking forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, you're young. You're 22. Like that. At that age, you are looking forward to everything. You don't ever want to stop and think and smell the roses because you're always like, oh, there's more out there. So listen, that's cool. That's a cool feeling. You'll reflect one day. Maybe not today, but
You're doing cool shit all the time.
you're doing cool shit right now, Dan. How about work for us?
There's
This
gotta
is a
be
good
one
moment.
thing,
It's just in my head, I'm always looking forward, and once I hit that, that's gonna be my top moment, and that's gonna
Yeah.
be it. So
Sure.
That's
That's what
awesome.
most people do.
right now,
Well,
right now is your best moment.
right now, yeah.
Yeah, every day is a great opportunity, a great moment to celebrate. If people generally would understand that, there is nothing better tomorrow. There is nothing better around the corner. There could be moments that are exciting and better than something you may have done before, but today, right now, look, this is a gift. We're able to hang out, talk, do this for
This is a gift.
for lack of a better. This is doing this for a living. I don't know. I don't feel like it's doing it for a living, but it is. You guys are, making money. He's making money. The podcast is not making money, but that's okay because it's not
Running the
monetized.
red.
This is just.
But this is an investment.
This
There's
is
going to be a
part
day.
of this is part of the process. One day it will. One day this podcast will turn some sort of advertising, something that will say, okay, you can now consider this a viable business because it's making a profit. Right now, it's not a profit.
This will be big one day. Yeah, we'll reflect, and this will be one of our greatest moments. So, just want to read from the audience again. Thank you to everybody that has. And I didn't give you too much time, maybe like an hour to write in. So if other people write in, I'm sorry I missed your response. This is going to be. I'm not going to name names unless I know you personally. And I will say this one because you know her. Alyssa Laverty, first person to answer, says one of her Are you listening?
Yes, I'm looking.
I'm about to get emotional with you, and you're texting somebody.
No, your mom was texting me. Sorry.
It's okay. Alyssa Laverty.
Sorry, Mom. The grinder. I love her. I love her.
She's great.
Let's say her again.
Alyssa Laverty,
the grinder.
The grinder. One of her life's greatest moments was seeing my dad retire and sitting in the backyard to order sushi with my mom to celebrate.
Nice.
And wait,
Beautiful.
I have to show you the picture because this picture is amazing of just Big Joe Laverty, who is one of my favorite men.
Great guy. Salt of the earth.
That's him that
Let me
day.
see. Wait a second. Is it?
So that's one of my dad's best friends, Joe Laverty.
Yeah, that's him. Look at him. Beautiful. Beautiful day. Yep.
So
It's funny. He's a special guy. Like I said, we're very fortunate.
just looks happy and
Yep.
at peace, and that's a really good picture. So
Meanwhile, he's probably really stressed out thinking what's next.
probably has some Tito's in a cup.
I'm sure.
Somewhere. So Alyssa Laverty, thank you for your response. Let's move on because you're not the only person that says something. Somebody wrote a hole in one in golf.
That's great. I wish I had
Great
one.
moment. We don't have those moments to
I know
reflect on.
people that have like multiple hole-in-ones.
The-
Like Filiosa has several.
Those are called lucky
And he
people.
stinks at golf. And he'll tell you. He stinks. No, he really does. He's like a 20. I don't think he has a handicap.
Maybe he just doesn't.
Except like he would say, he'll tell you his handicap in life. But anyway, he's not a great golfer. He's a great guy, great man, but has several hole-in-ones.
It's funny because it probably feels way less significant for him than like if you got a hole in one.
I was with him one time. So picture this. Par 3 had to be 200 yards, 180, whatever. It's a long par 3.
Yeah.
He sculls a ball, which means you thin it. You thin it off the
You
tee.
hit the top.
It doesn't go in the air. And it doesn't top and just stop. It screams, goes through the fairway, hits the fairway, he's running, bouncing, going. And there's a caddy up on the green because it was an outing we're at. And it's going. And the caddy puts his hands in the air like, oh my God, he starts screaming, jumping around. It went in. Like you couldn't even see the ball.
That's
on the
funny.
green, nothing. It was the elevation was such that you couldn't see any. It went in. I'm like, you murdered that.
What was his
You
response?
Ballistered that, huh?
What was his response?
He's laughing. What do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, I got another one. You got another one? You had another one?
Remember when I was caddying for Jimmy
Yeah.
and he hit a hole in one? And
Yeah, I was there
Yeah.
for that too.
Yeah.
And we couldn't see it because the elevation was, you were higher than we were. It goes in and we're like looking up. We're like, John. He's like, what? You're like, well, that means on the green. And you're like, we're like, look, what is he saying?
Because
it went in. We're like, okay, then say that.
I was
We're
kind of
jumping
like,
up and down.
I was like, it's in the hole. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? I was like,
Yeah.
I think it's in the hole. At
He
that
thinks
point,
it's in a hole.
I was kind of like, it was at a point where I knew it was on the green. I didn't know where it went. Maybe it was like over a hill. And I was like, yeah,
He didn't
I
wanna
think it's,
walk
I think it's in.
close
Yeah.
to it.
And it was like,
He was too far of
yeah,
a
it's.
walk.
And I was like, yeah, no, it's in. And they're like, okay,
Dummy.
thanks.
I mean, Jimmy looks at me and goes, as we're walking, he goes, is he serious? Like, it went in and he's not like jumping up and down?
Yeah,
Like,
no.
He's
I
like,
was
yeah,
like,
I went in.
I was like, isn't that the point? You're supposed to get the ball in the hole. So
Yeah.
mission accomplished. Good job. No, Jimmy and I'll have a good laugh by that one. Next one up, somebody wrote that they, after getting dumped in a 10-year relationship, reinvented himself, landed a coding job at Microsoft. That maybe the relationship was holding you back, brother. Maybe you needed that. Maybe you got to spread your wings.
Who's
sometimes
this?
and
Is
fly.
this somebody you know?
Just some guy that responded.
Okay.
So
Okay, good
that's
for you.
amazing here. One of my
Rebound.
other buddies wrote, seeing his parents thrive after I grew up and moved out.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Cool. Maybe
like that.
maybe he was holding them back.
No, we don't want to say that.
No, I don't know.
We don't want to say that.
I don't
A
know.
lot of, a lot of responses about their parents, which is very interesting. We have one
Cool.
saying becoming a licensed CPA. I'm sure a lot of people can. That one's got to be a
That's
rewarding
hard.
feeling because again, you're putting in so much
Yeah.
hard work, and you know the result is not always going to be a pass test. That's got to be painstaking. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
congratulations.
definitely.
Let's see, we have a couple more here. Oh, somebody wrote, won't name names, but she wrote, so she started her own business, and she said the first time she saw mail with her LLC written on it, I guess was like her aha moment, because again, what she said was she didn't really expect it, and then when it came in the mail, she's like, wow, this is real. So I
Oh,
thought
cool.
I thought that was pretty special. Let's see.
Congratulations to everybody. Those are great things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good way to end this podcast. If you guys have any of your life's greatest moments, please comment below. Hopefully we have some life's greatest moments to experience together in the future.
Yeah.
Dan, maybe you'll have one coming up.
Dan's going to circle back.
You'll circle back.
He'll come
You're
back
going to comment below. Help out the algorithm a little bit. But that's it for today, guys. Like,
Thank
subscribe,
you.
share, all that good stuff. Peace.